Hi, I'm Greg with Nihon Lounge, and on today's video, I'm going to talk about 5 things I wish I knew prior to beginning my journey of learning Japanese. That's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, before we get started, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. My goal here is to help, maybe people who aren't Japanese understand my journey of learning Japanese, tips that I have, the struggles that I've had. I learned Japanese a long time ago as a missionary. I also took Japanese in high school, a little bit in college. And so it's just, I've learned so much over the years, and I want to talk today about some things that someone who's new and thinking about learning Japanese, just some tips so that you don't feel completely overwhelmed, okay? And the first tip has to be hiragana and katakana. You have to learn those. You've got to learn the kana because at the end of the day, that's the basis for everything else that you're going to do, okay? When it comes to reading and writing and all that kind of stuff, you need to know hiragana and katakana, and that will make your life a lot easier. There are other methods that you could start in, but that's my recommendation, and it may feel a little slow at first, but be sure to do that. And the nice thing about hiragana and katakana, by the way, in Japanese, is that the letters they're only pronounced one way by and large, okay? So ka is literally, K-A is literally pronounced ka. That's it. It's not also ka and ka and all these things that you see in English where it seems like every letter has 4 or 5 different ways that it can be pronounced depending on what word it's in. By and large, Japanese the letters are pronounced one way, okay? So that's always nice when you get started, when you realize that WA is pronounced wa. Okay, and you don't have to worry about pronouncing it any other way. Whatever word you see it in, it's basically going to be the exact same thing. Okay, there are a couple minor exceptions to that, but don't worry about that right now. But learn the hiragana and katakana. That's number one. There's nothing more important than that. Okay. The second thing I wish I knew was that the Japanese sentence structure is totally insane compared to English and Spanish and stuff like that. If you're an English speaker and you're learning Spanish, it's going to feel very familiar, and you're going to pick up on it really quick because the sentence structure isn't all that different. Where Japanese is, the verb comes at the end, and that's a little bit strange because as you're translating, you essentially have to wait until the end of the sentence to figure out what they're saying and whether it's a negative or positive thing that they're saying. So the sentence structure is different, and you get used to that. And there's particles that are involved in that sentence structure. Okay. So again, right now you're focused on item number 1, but item number 2 is just realize the sentence structure is different, and it's going to feel a lot more complicated than other languages that you potentially could learn, but don't let that distract you. And speaking of distractions or not getting discouraged, understand that kanji is a long game. Kanji is very complicated. It's extremely difficult for a lot of people. Even Japanese people struggle with kanji. There's a lot of people in Japan who cannot read. And I mean, think about how easy it is for you. Even if you don't necessarily understand the things you're reading, most people in the United States or in other countries can read their native languages. Kanji is very difficult. You have to memorize thousands just to be able to read something like a newspaper. So don't let that overwhelm you. Learn a little bit at a time. Grow your grammar. Make sure you've got the hiragana and katakana down. Grow your grammar. Understand the sentence structures. Get your verbs. There's a lot of things that you can do. And while you're doing that, learn a couple Japanese kanji at a time. Okay. 3 or 4 a day, or if you need to do less, do 10 a month or something like that. Go slow, and then as you start to get the structure and a lot more vocabulary down, then you can also start throwing in kanji. Okay, again, this is just my opinion on what I wish I had known and how I would, maybe do things a little bit differently. Number 4, listening. I can't tell you how important it is. Look, I live in Idaho. There's not a lot of Japanese people in the state of Idaho in the United States. There's just not. So my ability to have native conversations with people is extremely limited. You have to listen, though. You have to practice that listening, because that's how you're going to pick up on words, and you're going to hear the intonations, and you're going to hear the native tongue in a way that helps you understand better what they're saying, and then you can also mimic that, right? You're trying to get that sentence structure down. You're trying to get the intonation and how they say it, and so you want to be able to do that. And the good news is, if you're starting Japanese now, there are Japanese people, natives, who have YouTube channels that speak at a slower rate. So if you take the Japanese language proficiency test, N5 being the slowest and the lowest, and N1 being essentially native level, there are people like Japanese with Shun, one of my favorite channels to listen to, that speak at an N5 level. They slow everything down so you can pick it up. Like there's times I can understand a lot of what he's saying, most of what he's saying, but there are times where I don't necessarily understand every word, but contextually I understand the sentence structures and everything, and so I'm able to do that. And just do that all the time. Immersion is your best friend. Okay, watching Japanese shows on Netflix that have Japanese, you can use the subtitles or not. There's some debate about that, but Japanese with Shun, and there's a few others that you can listen to, the N4 level, N3 level, N2 level, as you start to get better and you can grow. Okay, but listen all the time. Be listening, even if you don't understand every word. That's fine. Your brain will start to pick up the patterns and the rhythms. Okay, and that's extremely important. Look, at the end of the day, number 5 is you don't need a textbook. You don't, tutoring is good, and there's certainly nothing wrong with having a tutor. I've thought about doing some tutoring myself to help people out, but at the end of the day, you don't have to have a textbook or go to some formal class or anything like that. You can start now with Japanese hiragana and katakana flashcards. You can watch maybe a couple YouTube videos on pronunciation, and then you can get into the grammar structure and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things you can do before you feel maybe it's necessary to take some sort of a formal training from either a native or someone like myself who understands a lot of the stuff to help beginners get off the ground, because it can feel very intimidating. Japanese is a beautiful language, and I wish more people would study it. It is going to be more difficult if you're an English speaker compared to someone that's maybe Korean or Chinese that might be able to pick up on it a little bit faster. But an awesome language. It is complex, but there's also things that are easy and that you'll pick up on right away. So stick with your journey. Just keep it simple. Don't overwhelm yourself, and you'll do great. That's all I've got for now. Thank you. Take care. God bless.